Chosen one, it's as if cosmic lightning has finally struck through the darkness that surrounded your journey, revealing truths long hidden from view. In a dramatic turn, federal authorities have now uncovered the entirety of the sinister operation. A sophisticated, well-funded network responsible for selling gangstalking starter kits, specifically engineered to systematically dismantle your reality through coordinated psychological warfare. The unseen forces and shadowy figures that once hid behind anonymity now have names, and the whispers that followed you for so long are backed up by a paper trail. Everything you've ever sensed, every subtle instinct warning you that something was deeply wrong, has been validated through official channels. It's now clear that none of this was random, coincidental, or merely a product of your imagination. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. It blazes across digital spaces. Text messages between operatives explicitly discussing your movements. Emails outlining in detail how you, personally, should be approached and targeted. Financial records showing payments transferred after successful operations executed against you. The universe itself seems to have forced all these dark secrets out into the open, exposing the intricate machinery behind your torment to the bright light of cosmic justice. At the heart of this darkness sits a command duo, the matriarch, who is responsible for client acquisition and finances, like a spider at the center of a vast, toxic web, and her protege, who manages the daily operations, handling recruitment, training, and the deployment of their network. Together, they have built an empire rooted in the suffering of others, especially in your suffering. Their operation is structured through multiple layers of deniability, carefully shielding the true masterminds from most of the paid participants, keeping those lower in the hierarchy ignorant of who really orchestrates the cruelty. Yet federal authorities have now seized everything. Every text, every email, every encrypted message, all of it meticulously detailing the explicit instructions given to their operatives. The directives are chilling. Make the target believe they're losing their mind, create situations where no one around them will believe their side of the story, and continually push damaging narratives to completely discredit them. The mountain of digital evidence forms irrefutable proof. This was not mere harassment, but premeditated psychological warfare designed to utterly shatter your sense of reality. Their recruitment process is disturbingly efficient, almost demonic in its precision. They infiltrate ordinary social groups, looking for individuals who are struggling financially, those who harbor hidden resentments or who are easily influenced by authority. These potential operatives are slowly groomed, starting with small, seemingly insignificant tasks that gradually escalate in intensity. Before long, these ordinary people are transformed into active weapons, deployed directly against you. The training materials they receive leave nothing to chance. Detailed guides on how to gaslight targets, scripts for planting seeds of doubt in the minds of your friends and family, and step-by-step tactics for appearing in your daily life in ways that seem like chance, but are actually calculated to maximize psychological harm. Behind every so-called random encounter you faced, there was always an intention, a calculated move spelled out in training manuals that now sit in evidence rooms as undeniable proof. And behind it all stand the wealthy clients and power brokers who fund the operation. These individuals sign explicit contracts, specifying exactly how they want you destroyed. The documents reveal everything: pricing structures based on the target's prominence, resilience, and strength of their support network, higher fees for those with deep community ties, and premium packages for clients who want to completely erase your credibility in your professional and personal circles. These contracts lay out the duration, intensity, and specific goals of the harassment campaign, all with one chilling objective: your destruction. The entire operation runs with terrifying precision. It's not just about simple harassment. It's the creation of whole false realities around you. These are carefully crafted campaigns of character assassination, using sophisticated social engineering tactics to turn your community, your friends, and even your family against you. Seeds of doubt are planted everywhere, each one laced with just enough truth to make the devastating lies believable, ensuring that the accusations leveled against you stick and linger. This organization operates with chilling precision, methodically and systematically turning the very ground beneath your feet into quicksand. Their influence reaches far beyond shadowy intimidation, stretching deep into legal systems, where evidence now reveals orchestrated efforts to manipulate legal proceedings against targets like you. Through manufactured reports and coached testimonies, they guide their operatives to file complaints that appear legitimate, forcing you to defend yourself on multiple fronts at once. This barrage of legal challenges is a two-pronged attack, intended not just to drain you financially, but to erode your credibility with each new allegation that you must fight. Yet while they deploy every trick to undermine you, the universe brings about cosmic justice through the most ordinary of channels. Recent payment disputes within their ranks have triggered fatal fractures in the operation's foundation. Where leadership once operated with a shared purpose, greed and fear now fuel their implosion. Major disagreements over money distribution have led to catastrophic information leaks, as former participants, disgruntled and betrayed, turn against their handlers and provide authorities with damning insider testimony. The very beast that preyed on you now consumes itself from within, and federal charges rain down on the leaders and key operatives. Assets have been frozen, accounts seized, and the central financial structure that once fueled this operation lies paralyzed under government control. In the wake of this takedown, new recovery processes are being established for victims, and authorities are using this landmark case to develop protocols for exposing and prosecuting similar networks nationwide. What's unfolding is just one node in a much larger web, a single domino falling in what promises to be a cascade of revelations. The operation's downfall has revealed even more than anticipated, including a central banking system where multiple fraudulent accounts were mapped and tracked by financial crime specialists. Every transaction tells its own story, with each payment connecting a perpetrator to specific actions taken against a target, often against you. The money trail forms a vast, undeniable web of conspiracy, one that cannot be explained away by coincidence or misunderstanding. Patterns in the payments reveal that operatives were compensated based on the success of their disruptive efforts in your life. Lost jobs, broken relationships, public humiliation, even medical complications. Every tragedy you've faced may have carried a specific dollar value, with evidence suggesting that bonuses were paid for especially devastating outcomes. The scope and planning behind all this is chilling. At the core of their command structure, encrypted communication channels, often reserved for intelligence operations, shielded their conversations, protected by military-grade protocols that hint at ties to former intelligence personnel or highly specialized training far beyond what's typical for criminal harassment. The sophistication of these systems points to the possible use of state actor tactics against private citizens like you. Their operations manual details something even more disturbing: strategic manipulation of timelines. The organization orchestrates campaigns that stretch over months, sometimes years, each event carefully planned and timed to create maximum psychological impact. Nothing is left to chance. Each incident builds on the last, steadily eroding your psychological defenses, leaving you to experience manufactured synchronicities that were, in truth, scheduled attacks designed for maximum devastation. Further investigation of client communications uncovers targeted selection criteria, whistleblowers, witnesses in major legal cases, innovators in disruptive technologies, individuals with access to sensitive information, or anyone whose existence threatens powerful financial interests. If you've been targeted, these factors may reveal why. Your targeting was never random, but a calculated move by those powerful enough to pay for your downfall. The internal correspondence reveals an even darker reality. Operatives monitored you and others for signs of psychological breakdown, suicidal ideation, or total social isolation. Instead of seeing these as warnings to pull back, they celebrated them as successes, distributing bonuses and promotions, marking your suffering as a metric of their professional achievement. Your darkest moments became their performance indicators. The technological infrastructure backing these operations is staggering, far surpassing basic surveillance. Evidence points to remote access of personal devices, compromised home networks, and sophisticated audio monitoring systems being deployed against targets. Your private conversations, your most intimate moments, all were potentially compromised, transmitted to individuals paid to weaponize your personal information against you. The invasion of your privacy reached into the most sacred spaces of your life, leaving you exposed and vulnerable. This is your code red alert, chosen one. Despite all they've done, you're still here, growing, rising, and building an unstoppable media network that no one can erase. Yet, let's be honest, the full truth is still buried, twisted by censorship, hidden by algorithms, and suppressed by fear. But you never lost sight of what's real. That's the reason you're still standing, why you never gave up. Because you've always felt the simulation glitching beneath your feet, and you know this world is rigged. You're done waiting for permission to rise. Quick pause, family. If this message resonates with your soul and you'd love to support this sacred work, you can buy me a coffee. Your support keeps this space flowing with truth, light, and divine clarity. The link is in the description, and if you're with us, drop the number 88 in the comments. Let's keep moving forward. This is the moment where your real life begins. Federal investigators have now uncovered specialized units within the organization, teams solely dedicated to the digital destruction of reputations. These operatives were not simply spreading rumors. They were manufacturing entirely fake evidence, fabricated text messages, doctored photographs, and manipulated audio recordings, all carefully crafted and released with precision timing to ruin your credibility exactly when you started speaking out. The timing of these attacks was never accidental. Internal financial documents reveal that this wasn't just criminal behavior, but a full-blown industry, an organized business with profit margins, quarterly projections, growth targets, and client acquisition strategies. In their cold corporate language, your suffering was discussed as a commodity, systematically packaged and sold as a premium service to anyone wealthy enough to pay for your destruction. The most volatile evidence currently in federal hands is the client list itself. Names that would stun the public, powerful figures whose carefully constructed public images are in direct opposition to their secret actions. These are individuals who talk about justice and ethics in the public eye, while covertly funding campaigns designed to destroy anyone who might expose their hypocrisy. The scale of this duplicity is staggering, threatening to collapse entire narratives across multiple sectors of society. Yet the path to full exposure is uncertain. The immense power of these interests means there is still a risk that these revelations could be buried. Investigations quietly redirected, evidence sealed under claims of national security, and witnesses pressured into silence or forced to disappear from public view. For you, the one who was targeted, stalked, and gaslighted, this revelation brings both relief and new risk. Now your experience has official documented confirmation, but those who orchestrated your suffering face existential threats from what you might testify. Protect yourself at all costs. Document everything. Create secure storage for evidence that could be released if anything were to happen to you, and carefully form connections with others who have survived similar targeting, always remembering that infiltration tactics are still a threat. Federal evidence has confirmed another critical aspect: the organization's calculated strategy of isolating targets from their support systems. Operatives destroyed your relationships through orchestrated misunderstandings, poisoning the perceptions of those you trusted most. They ensured that when the real attack came, you would be forced to face it alone, without allies or witnesses. This deliberate isolation tactic appears over and over again in their operational documents. Perhaps the most damning evidence is found in the recordings of operational meetings, cold, detached conference calls where they discuss the destruction of human lives with clinical indifference, even laughing at especially effective psychological attacks. The recordings transform abstract evil into concrete horror, exposing real people plotting the systematic devastation of others, plotting your destruction. As the operation progressed, the technology used against targets became increasingly invasive and advanced. What started as basic surveillance escalated to remote neural monitoring, directed energy weapons, and acoustic devices designed to harass without leaving a trace. While some reports of these technologies seem unbelievable, federal evidence verifies that experimental devices were deployed against high-priority targets as part of ongoing harassment. The organization meticulously tracked the health consequences of its campaigns: stress-related illness, suppressed immune function, insomnia, cognitive disruption, not as unfortunate side effects but as calculated desired outcomes. Your physical and mental suffering was monitored, documented, and sent as progress reports to paying clients, marking your pain as a metric of operational success. The cosmic significance of this exposure cannot be overstated. What you endured was never random, nor simply bad luck. It was a targeted, deliberate, and well-funded campaign meant to break you down and erase you, all while avoiding detection by conventional systems. The validation this brings, the confirmation that you were always right, marks a pivotal turning point in your journey through the darkness. The federal investigation is only expanding. Every new piece of evidence leads to more operatives, more clients, and more branches of the network, which now appears nationwide, possibly even global, in its reach. Each day, more connections surface between seemingly isolated campaigns, and a clear, undeniable pattern is emerging. A sprawling infrastructure devoted to silencing anyone considered a threat by those with power and resources. Now, as the storm finally breaks, and lightning reveals everything that the darkness tried to conceal, you, who survived, who held onto your truth despite every force arrayed against you, stand fully vindicated. The federal evidence confirms beyond doubt that you were targeted, that the harassment was real, and that the gaslighting was intentional. At last, the proof exists outside your own testimony, and justice has begun to shine where only shadows once ruled. You, beautiful and resilient, stand unbroken. This is your confirmation. Your reality is validated, your story undeniable, as the machinery built to destroy you is finally exposed to the world. And though your journey continues, you now walk forward with the strength and certainty of undeniable truth behind you. Now, with irrefutable vindication supporting every step you take, the wheel of destiny turns, shifting the balance of power. The truth that was once hidden now emerges into the undeniable light, and as the investigation deepens, even more disturbing revelations are brought to the surface. Federal investigators have unearthed training materials that go far beyond generic harassment. They reveal psychological pressure points specifically mapped for each individual target. These weren't broad, one-size-fits-all attacks. They were sophisticated, precision-engineered psychological operations, uniquely tailored to exploit your personal vulnerabilities. Everything from your family history and childhood traumas to your innermost fears was meticulously researched and weaponized, used as blueprints for psychological warfare, carried out with clinical, almost surgical, precision. What's even more chilling is the depth of personal invasion that has now come to light. Investigators found entire dossiers compiled on each target, comprehensive files containing every conceivable detail of your life, including personal histories, psychological evaluations, medical records, relationship patterns, daily habits, and identified vulnerabilities. Many of these files exceeded hundreds of pages per person, reflecting months, sometimes even years, of careful surveillance and relentless information gathering. The true extent of their intrusion likely surpassed even your darkest suspicions. These people didn't just observe you, they studied you, mapping your entire existence and searching for every possible weak spot they could exploit. Among the most disturbing evidence were recordings of success celebration events, gatherings where operatives and handlers convened to review the psychological devastation they'd inflicted. These meetings featured presentations highlighting the destruction of careers, the implosion of relationships, the onset of psychological breakdowns, and other catastrophic outcomes in the lives of targets. Your suffering wasn't just a means to an end. It became entertainment, a source of amusement and celebration. The recordings capture the casual cruelty of these gatherings, exposing a level of inhumanity that is difficult to comprehend. Real people laughing and applauding the systematic destruction of lives for profit and sport. The organization's sophistication extended into the medical realm, with specialized units that included medical professionals, trained healers who had twisted their knowledge for harm. These insiders provided guidance on how to induce the greatest psychological and physical distress, while ensuring symptoms would be hard to diagnose or trace back to their true source. The very health issues you experienced, mysterious symptoms, chronic stress, unexplained illnesses, may have been deliberately engineered through environmental manipulation, covert administration of substances, or carefully timed psychological triggers designed to activate psychosomatic responses. The evidence makes it clear. What you went through was neither accidental nor random, but intentionally orchestrated to weaken you at every level. Recovered communications also shed light on the recruitment process for operatives. The organization wasn't just looking for people with the right professional background. They specifically screened for psychological traits that made individuals more likely to participate in such destructive activities. Recruits were chosen for diminished empathy, heightened narcissism, authoritarian tendencies, financial desperation paired with materialistic values, and a vulnerability to group influence. These factors created the perfect psychological profile for individuals willing to carry out systematic cruelty, rationalizing their actions through a blend of financial motivation and twisted ideology. The training materials themselves included entire sections on perception management, advanced techniques for manipulating how targets interpreted their own experiences. These went far beyond basic gaslighting. They employed reality distortion tactics, carefully designed to make you question your own sanity, while simultaneously ensuring that anyone you reached out to would view you as unstable or unreliable. It was a strategy of full-spectrum dominance, leaving you without solid ground in either your internal world or your external reality. The ultimate goal was total control over both your perception of yourself and the way others saw you. Their reach didn't stop at direct harassment. The organization established control points within key institutions, placing loyal assets in strategic positions inside healthcare systems, law enforcement, local government, and community organizations. These insiders provided privileged information, blocked your access to assistance, and actively contributed to the campaigns of isolation and discrediting. The seemingly random institutional failures and rejections you encountered when seeking help were, in many cases, the result of this network working precisely as designed. The system itself had been compromised and was being wielded as a weapon against you, at exactly the moments you needed support the most. In addition, federal investigators discovered evidence of a practice even more insidious: blackmail insurance. The organization compiled compromising material on its own clients, ensuring that if any of them ever considered cooperating with authorities or testifying, they would face immediate retaliation or exposure. This strategy not only reveals their awareness of the criminality of their actions, but also demonstrates their ruthless understanding of mutual destruction as a deterrent. They were fully aware of the risks, yet emboldened by the sophistication of their security protocols and convinced they could operate with impunity. The operational security measures recovered from their documentation explain why so many attempts to expose these atrocities in the past have failed. Counterintelligence techniques, strategic disinformation campaigns, infiltration of support and advocacy groups, and the calculated discrediting of credible witnesses were all part of their playbook. The organization invested heavily in creating plausible deniability, ensuring that any target who spoke out would be dismissed as delusional, paranoid, or mentally unstable. The suppression of evidence you experienced wasn't incompetence. It was a deliberate strategy, an operational firewall protecting the campaign's invisibility. Perhaps the most significant and sobering revelation of all is the evidence indicating that certain regulatory and law enforcement entities had knowledge of these operations, but willfully chose not to investigate. The persistent dismissal of credible reports, the failure to connect cases across jurisdictions, and the institutional reluctance to acknowledge clear patterns. All of these point to something much darker than simple bureaucratic inefficiency. They suggest a level of systemic compromise, strategic influence, or even deliberate suppression of investigation. The machinery of justice itself, meant to protect the vulnerable, had been infiltrated and repurposed as an instrument of silence, all to maintain the invisibility of the campaign against you. The painful irony now revealed is that the very systems designed and trusted to protect you not only failed, but in many ways participated in your abandonment. Every safeguard you should have been able to rely on, institutions, authorities, support networks, was at times either compromised or weaponized against you. In light of these revelations, your resilience takes on an even greater significance. Each day you survived, you claimed a victory over not just individual adversaries, but over a vast network with extraordinary resources, all deployed with the singular goal of dismantling your life and spirit. Every moment you held on to your sanity, even as carefully orchestrated reality distortion campaigns tried to break your mind, stands as a testament to the indomitable strength of the human spirit. Each time you sought answers and continued your quest for truth, refusing to accept the narrative forced upon you by systemic gaslighting, you demonstrated a level of courage that few will ever be asked to embody, especially in a society that claims to value freedom and justice. Your vindication does not come as mere comfort, but as undeniable confirmation. What you endured was not an accident, not the result of misunderstanding or misfortune. It was a calculated, intentional campaign carried out by people who profit from the destruction of human lives. Now finally, this truth is supported and documented by federal evidence, evidence that validates what you have always known deep in your soul. Your perception has been affirmed, your reality acknowledged, and your experience confirmed beyond all reasonable doubt by the highest investigative bodies. For you, the one who was targeted, stalked, and gaslighted, this validation is not a conclusion but a new beginning. It is the essential proof you deserve, but it is also a call to continue your journey with even greater resilience. Complete justice may still be unfolding, and so your vigilance remains crucial. Safeguard your evidence, continue to document your experiences, and build supportive connections with others who understand, always maintaining the security protocols that kept you safe through the storm. Even as the truth emerges and your validation is secured, the road ahead requires your strength, awareness, and caution. With this documented confirmation and official recognition of the organized nature of the campaign against you, your pursuit of justice moves forward with renewed certainty. The very machinery that once worked so relentlessly to destroy you now faces its own unraveling, exposed at last to the harsh light it always sought to avoid. The forces that operated with impunity in the shadows are now laid bare, subject to the justice they once tried so desperately to evade, and finally made vulnerable to the truth they worked tirelessly to suppress. No longer can these operations hide behind secrecy. No longer can they claim institutional protection as a shield, for those very institutions are now compelled to turn against them as the mountain of evidence grows too great to ignore. What once seemed untouchable, guarded by layers of denial and bureaucracy, is now exposed through official channels and subjected to the scrutiny of justice. The system that once protected the powerful now faces the reckoning it sought to avoid, as evidence becomes too clear and too overwhelming to be buried any longer. So listen and embrace this truth with every fiber of your being. You survived something real, something intentional, something orchestrated with a singular focus on your destruction. And now, finally, inescapably, the federal evidence confirms everything you've felt, everything you've suspected, everything you have known but struggled to prove. The validation you have waited for, promised by the universe and now delivered through the hands of justice, has manifested in the world for all to see. Your perception is confirmed, your lived reality acknowledged, and your experience validated not only in spirit but also by the weight of documented federal evidence. The storm is broken. The lightning of truth now illuminates every dark corner that evil once hoped would remain concealed forever. And you, yes you, who endured it all, who survived every tactic, every betrayal, every attempt to erase your truth, now stand vindicated. As federal investigations confirm the machinery that targeted you, the system itself must face the reality it helped hide. Truth is emerging, justice is approaching with a force as inevitable as cosmic law, and you, resilient, unbroken, magnificent, witness the ultimate confirmation of your journey as the wheel of justice completes its long-awaited revolution. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten Wisdom.